borrowing and indebtedness by this administration, almost $2 billion, raising taxes in the form of fees, fines, and penalties, and then helping his cronies with all of the favors that the Tribune series just reported on this past week. Those are the priorities of this administration, balancing the budget through regressive fines, fees, and penalties on little guys in the city of Chicago. The neighborhoods are the ones that are paying for all of this.
While you have the floor, Chuy Garcia, you support legalizing recreational marijuana and taxing it to raise revenue. Others, is that a good...
I did not say that. I said that we should study the Colorado experience to see how it goes in terms of crime, in terms of the health impact that it has, and that we said that the revenue is also one interesting source that we ought not discount. Okay. That's what I said.
Other candidates, is that good public policy?
First of all, both of them on the red light cameras. I have introduced an ordinance to abolish the red light cameras. It is fines, fees, and forfeiture. It is not about safety. And the reason the mayor cannot say that it's revenue, even though it's revenue driven, is because it then evaporates the argument that that's been pushed in through the state legislature on why we have these cameras and what we can do about it. And as has been said over and over, this is about rear-end collisions increasing. Now, we should have been improving these intersections long ago and removing the cameras. If it was about safety and that's what everybody's concerned, and that's what we hear out of this administration, it should have been done. It would have been over and done with. Red light cameras have to go.
Gentlemen, let's go through a round of...
Phil, hold on. No, because actually, I fundamentally oppose legalizing marijuana as a revenue source. You want to increase revenue? Grow jobs. Don't grow pot. I think it's a wrong strategy. Let me say one other thing, though. Chuy, right before the county voted on a red light operation, you took $1,500 the night before, and then you were the swing vote the next day. And Bob, 4 to 5 years ago, you actually voted to expand the red light program. I'm the only one that's actually shut down lights in the city of Chicago.
Chuy Garcia, a quick response to that?
If I could. First of all,
did you take money, $1,500?
I took
was there a vote the next day?
I took a $1,500 contribution from a 30-year friend who does no business with the city, and you know that, so you're lying about that. And we weren't approving a red light camera. We were responding to a request from a suburb that wanted to install a red light camera. The county hasn't installed any red light cameras. That's the truth. You're distorting and you're lying, and you know it. And that's the reverse Robin Hood right there. Robbing from the poor to give to the rich.
Well, you know, I think...
Mayor, do you want to respond to that?
The record speaks for itself. I'm clear that we've actually shut them down in 16 locations, never expanded them, and made sure that our officers are freed up to fight guns and gangs rather than writing traffic.
Willie Wilson.
Listen, I'm the only one that haven't taken any money from nobody. Right? Nobody. All right, nobody. All right? All right? When you take money from corporation and union, you're going to owe them. Okay? But, listen, those particular union must have equal opportunity for job and contract to all citizens, which do not have, okay? Those particular union that supported the mayor here, those particular corporations that supported the mayor, $30 million, he must pay them back first, okay? I pledge to you, I wouldn't take any money from anybody before I would sell the city out itself.
Since that subject is on the table, Mr. Mayor, the Tribune reported that about half of your top 100 donors have received City Hall benefits ranging from contracts and permits to appointments and personal endorsements. You've made some steps regarding ethics reform, but doesn't this at the very least give the appearance of pay to play?
Phil, when I was a congressman, Senator Barack Obama and I introduced the most sweeping lobbying and ethics reform legislation, and passed it. The first thing I did as mayor, signed 6 ordinances changing the culture in the city of Chicago and the finance law for the toughest in the city's history.
No, there's no suggestion that anything that you're doing along those lines, violates the law. But but is there an expectation? So you're saying
no. So
is there an expectation of access when somebody makes a large contribution?
I'll give you an example. I have received support from business. They're against my increase in the minimum wage. I've actually received support from other businesses. I close loopholes as it relates to buying things outside the city so they can avoid sales taxes. It has no influence. In fact, I've stood up against supporters because when I think they're wrong, like fighting for a stronger minimum wage, I've opposed them directly because I'm clear about what we have to do as a city. But in addition to that, we changed the law before I got here The city of Chicago, for 40 years, existed with a Shackman oversight for the federal court because our hiring, which is the most corrupt aspect of the city, was influenced by who you knew, not what you knew. Now every part of the city of Chicago does not have federal oversight. We are finally professionalized our hiring, and the federal judge acknowledges a new day in the city of Chicago when it comes to hiring. It's a clear change.
The problem was when he said about Chuy Garcia that taking $1,500 and then voting the next day. The problem is when we look at it, $30 million, and then all these board appointments, and look at those top 103 contractors that received items. 60 of them received some kind of contract, some kind of benefit. If that's not pay to play, I don't know what is. And when we talk about ethics, don't forget the Supreme Court ruled in the one case on all the reforms that the mayor was talking about, including giving subpoena power to the Inspector General. And as now that's still waiting in the Rules and Ethics Committee, we haven't been able to move that out. When we need to move those 7 recommendations that we put in out now, and then we're going to start having true reform. There hasn't been. And when we talk about closing the Shackman, let's look at the airport. Let's look at some of these other areas on what's been happening here and whether patronage is still alive or not alive here in this city.
Gentlemen, let's move on to something we call quick hits. And please give me very quick answers, please. Willie Wilson, should anonymous complaints to the Inspector General be allowed? Very quickly, yes or no?
Yes.
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 Sure.
Mayor?
Yes.
You're in a position to make that happen?
Yeah, we have anonymous, so we have also calls in to make sure on anything as it relates to aldermen, as well as we have the first whistleblower ordinance that ever got passed in the city.
Signed affidavits are required, aren't they?
Not for whistleblowers. We give information on corruption and fraud.
Obama Library on city parkland, yes or no?
No.
Willie Wilson?
I think it deserved to be here, whether it's on city or private. He's the first African-American president in the United States. You do whatever it takes to make it happen.
But on city parkland, would you?
When I get the mayor, I'll put it on city property.
Absolutely. Unequivocal, yes.
All right. Lucas Museum on the lakefront. Willie Wilson.
I think it'll bring in revenue. That's what we need. New job, revenue. Help get the budget down. Pension. I said bring it here.
Chuy Garcia, Lucas Museum on the lakefront.
No monuments to Darth Vader on our precious lakefront. The citizens ought to have a say-so.
Bob Fioretti.
Absolutely. I think on strong leadership on both of them would have been having the citizens have a voice on it. The Lucas Museum for $1 a year rental for a billionaire is just unacceptable.
Mayor, the initial design of the Lucas Museum really kind of terrified some people. How much change might there be from the initial design?
That's what we're going to work through on the process, but I think this brings incredible 2,500 construction jobs, 500 permanent jobs. It brings economic, cultural enrichment. It also helps us fund STEM education for our kids, and I do believe because it will add, rather than a parking lot, 10 acres or about 10 acres of open parkland.
Although that parking lot one day could be parkland.
Yeah, but also with also on the northerly and also on Northerly Island, we're building now 50 acres of open parkland on Northerly Islands rather than an airport.
Okay, let's talk about something else.
So it's not a zero-sum game.
Let's talk about something else that's in the news. Willie Wilson, are you okay with dibs on parking spaces? People putting chairs and such in front of their houses? Yes or no?
Everything ain't yes and no.
Well, okay. Give me a quick one or two sentences then.
Well, but put it this way. You have to take and have place to park. Today, the snow. The citizens trying to get out. Truck can't get down the street, but the mayor is still giving people parking tickets.
That's not the question. Is it okay for people to put chairs in front of their houses?
No, I wouldn't.
Bob, you ready?
72 hours, yes.
For 72 hours?
Yeah.
Chuy Garcia?
I don't like it, but it's part of Chicago culture.
So if you were elected mayor, you'd say that's fine?
I try to curtail it. I try to, I'm a neighborhood guy, and we have to call on our neighbors to be commonsensical and considerate of other people. I would call on block clubs to come out and shovel the snow so there are no fighting.
Mayor, okay with dibs on parking spaces?
Yes, I believe in sweat equity. You shovel it, you own it.
For how long?
Just for a period of time till the snow melts in that area.
Okay, question. Willie Wilson, why is Alderman Burke's dead-end street, do you think, classified as an arterial street for plowing?
I think you got to ask the mayor that. They're buddies. All right?
All right, Mayor, how about it? Why is Alderman Burke's dead-end street classified as an arterial street for plowing? It was plowed 5 times.
Let me say, well, as you know, mine wasn't. The only way you know that information is because 2 years ago I put plowtracker.com so you can follow all the plow tracker and brought transparency to the system so you could actually know what was happening in the city of Chicago, what city workers were doing on city time.
Let's move on. Willie Wilson, in the state today, Governor Rauner said that he wants to lift the cap on the number of charter schools. Should there be a new bumper crop of charter schools?
Let me tell you my situation about charter school. A lot of them is failing from my understanding, okay? I think public school, just as you put emphasis on charter school, you should put emphasis on public school. All citizens should be treated the same with same interests, all right? Because the fact of it is, you'll come over here, you got to do this, you come over here, you got to do this. Put it on all our schools. You know, make sure all schools have good computers and things like that. They can learn. Good teacher. Give them the book. Pay the teacher what they need to be paid. All right? So I'm not for so much, say, charter school, public school. I'm for all schools.
Well, charter schools are public schools. They're not traditional neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
Bob Fioretti, any circumstances when a charter school is a good idea?
Well, I think at this time we need a moratorium on charter schools. I have a lot of them in the second ward, but I've also seen what happens to our neighborhood schools, and I think we need to focus on financing and making sure that we direct our funds towards neighborhood schools. Until they're strengthened, I don't think we should have any more charter schools.
Mayor, how do charter schools not draw resources from public neighborhood schools?
Well, because here's the thing, to your core question. This is about quality. We have to ensure Barbara Burt-Bennett, David Vitale, Jesse Ruiz, and the entire board, there's quality throughout the system, whether you go to International Baccalaureate, whether you go to a STEM, a military school, a charter school, another form of a magnet school. And what you have to ensure is there's quality that parents can pick. And these are public schools, as you just noted. And what we have to ensure, and the big challenge as it comes to resources, isn't about charter or IB or STEM. It's the fact is the state is 48th out of 50th in funding education. We're competing against Alabama and Mississippi and Illinois. That's crazy.
Yeah, but
Second,
let me just Governor, Senate, and House, and we couldn't get funding.
Right.
We've got to look at the bill that's in Springfield right now.
Bob, let me finish the one answer.
You are destroying public schools, and you have led the effort. And there's only a few of us in the city council that believe that have been standing up on this issue.
Quick response from the mayor: destroying public schools.
When I got here, half our kids had a 2-hour day of kindergarten. And I said that was wrong. I wasn't complicit by being complacent. I stood up and gave every child in the city of Chicago, regardless of background, regardless of where they lived, a full day of kindergarten. I made sure our kids, I made sure our children did not have the shortest school day and the shortest school year. We now have a full school day, full school year. And I made sure that our community colleges not only provide a career and a job, but we're going to make sure that if they don't go in the poorhouse trying to give their family a middle-class job and a career.
There are some good charter schools in my district presently. I visit them. I work with them. Some of them are even unionized. So they've respected collective bargaining, and they've struck a good balance. There are too many, however, that have been created simply to create more, and those are siphoning education resources from the public neighborhood schools. That's why I support a moratorium. And I voted against the bill that began the charter mania that's occurred in Chicago.
One last thing. Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead, Willie. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know, I appreciate that, Mayor. Let me talk a bit. Right? The public school. I'm kind of like mad with this mayor for closing 50 schools in minority neighborhoods. 50 schools, right? When you close 50 schools, 88% of them in African American, 10% of them in Latina, 2% in other, right? That take a void out of those communities. But the other part of it this here as well, you know, you're disenfranchised the kids, all right? The school teacher lost their job.